America needs classier villains. America needs old school Victorian English villains. See, a lot of Americans, they think people in England are condescending, but it's like, no, maybe they're educated by the way they speak. This is the thing. I am not on TikTok, and I'm not putting that on my phone. However, I was being nosy, and I was going through Google, and there was a video on there where, and you can see the people in the picture. Um, it was a fat white guy, and it said, instead of getting a tip, a Latina got a note that said, "We only tip citizens." Do you see what I mean about America needs classier villains? My thing is this. A classy villain, maybe a more educated villain, but a classy villain can put aside his politics when he goes to the restaurant. And if the person waited on you, now I'm not telling you to tip. We're not doing the beginning of Reservoir Dogs here. This isn't the beginning of Reservoir Dogs with Quentin Tarantino and Harvey Keitel. I'm not telling you that you have to tip. Hell, I've gone through the years where not tipping. I tip now because I make more money now. Don't play with my food. But no, seriously, I do tip now. Your politics aside, you should always do the classier thing, not necessarily the right thing, because you really should not do the right thing in every situation. The end of that Star Trek movie, the first movie with Spock and Kirk, and they're at the end of the movie, what they were talking about, Spock uses logic. He's like, not in this situation. We don't do the right thing. We don't do the right thing in this situation. We don't take the high ground. Spock told Kirk, we don't take the high ground in this situation. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to do the right thing all the time, but you should do the logical thing, the classier thing. So if the dude let the Latina woman wait on him, and he didn't complain about her at all, but then at the end, he writes on here, we only tip citizens. Well, you don't know if she's a citizen or not. But the thing about it is, you let her wait on you. So it's almost like a prank. Hey, come over, get in my pool. Come over, Prince Namor, get in my pool. And Prince Namor jumps in your pool. It's all alcohol. That was in the episode of Spider-Man. The pool was filled with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Yeah, the pool was filled with rubbing alcohol. It wasn't filled, but that's stupid. He would have smelled it. But anyway, off topic. If you sat there and ate your food at the restaurant, and you let this person wait on you that you did not like, but they waited on you and they did their job properly, no. A classy villain would have still tipped the bitch. Sorry. I'm just saying. Now, a crazy villain like the Joker, he might come up with some, philosophical reason why he's not going to tip her with money. He going to give her something else. But, if you want to be a villain, that's your business. You want to be evil. But I just feel like a classical villain would have tipped her. The proper thing to do would have been, if you knew that you weren't going to tip her, you shouldn't have let her wait on you. I mean, if you're going to be that racist, why you going to, that's like a bait and switch. That's what that is. That's a bait and switch. What he should have done is, hey, Can you bring the manager over? She would have got scared at first. Well, huh? Yeah, I'll go get him. She would have got the manager. Manager would have come over. Manager would be like, yes, sir. How are you doing tonight? What can I help you with? I hope you're having a good time. Well, I'm a fucking racist, and I don't want no Latinas waiting on me. Hey, just speak the subtext. Don't sugarcoat that shit. Just speak the subtext. You gonna speak it at the end when you're done eating and write it. Write this on here. I don't like gorditas. Dude, you could have avoided all that shit. You could have just been upfront and been like, look, I'm a fucking racist, Mr. Manager. Nice to meet you. I'm a fucking racist. I don't want no minorities waiting on me. That's all he had to say. Like, just be real. Just be real. Everybody else being real all of a sudden. Everybody else saying whatever fuck they want to say. But you want to make Latinos' lives worse. My thing is this. If I were in his position and I didn't like Latinos, I just would have been like, hey, call the manager over. Manager, come on, look, bruh. We're both white men. Look, buddy, you know, I like golf. You like golf. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this Latin woman waiting on me. You ain't got no white girls in here? I seen some white girls in here, man. I see some white girls working in here. What the fuck? Why you giving me a Latin chick? So that's all he had to do. And the but see, he might have been afraid that the manager is like, man, you're a fucking racist. Get the fuck out of my establishment. Oh, how dare you? Get the fuck out of my establishment. Or just the manager would have been like, well, I need to make this money because I need to make this money. So yes, sir, I'll get on that for you, sir. You know, and change out the waitress. That way, at least somebody getting a tip. But for you to be like, you know, you're being an asshole. You let this person wait on you, knowing that you weren't going to tip them because of their race. And then you're going to leave them a nasty note. Have you no decency, sir? Yeah, we got like, we have like the worst villains in America now. It's like they just crawled out the woodwork. Like they couldn't wait for 2025 to get here. Like everybody just saying whatever the fuck they want to say. It's like, keep digging that hole, motherfucker. You digging it for yourself. You know, you really, y'all need to read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Because if you read The Art of War, you might still be doing the shit you're doing, but you wouldn't be saying it. Because I'm pretty sure it's in there. Somewhere in The Art of War, it's something about don't be telling everybody what the fuck you gonna do. I mean, let's be real. You know, you gonna tell everybody what the fuck you gonna do. It's like, nah, man, you ain't supposed to do that. Or, and I have a problem with this because I'm a Virgo. You know, I'm a Virgo. You know, we gotta get the last word. Virgo's gotta get the last word. You know, we gotta say that fuck you line at the end. We gotta give you that last fuck you when you're arguing with somebody or somebody talking shit. You gotta talk shit to them. Oh, like in my screenplay for Ulysses 2, I got Wyndham Lewis. Wyndham Lewis shows up, and he was hating on James Joyce. So, you know, Wyndham Lewis is talking shit about James Joyce, and at the end of our discussion, my character's like, well, I was always told not to speak ill of the dead. I was always told not to speak ill of the dead. And then Wyndham Lewis looking at me like, and he fucking leaves. Then he turns into a zombie from Lord of the Rings, the Borrow White. He turned into a Borrow dash WIGHT. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. You know, we're Virgos, we're going to get that last word in. We're going to put it out there too, you know. We're going to tell you how you can fuck yourself. But I would say we're more classy about things. We're not going to, you know, it's just like if somebody is beefing with you, and they are literally your antithesis. Like you're literally doing everything. I know that don't sound right. Well, let's put it like this. You know how on those old comic book trading cards they would put, or like on the Transformers old trading cards, they would put like the speed, strength, intelligence. They did that on X-Men cards too. Speed, strength, intelligence, blah blah blah. So like you're hitting boom, 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 boom. You know, you're hitting 1,000 on all your attributes, and then you got somebody trying to beef with you, and their power bar is like that. Your power bar on the back of the trading card is like this. Their power bar is like that. Intelligence, strength level, power, magic, whatever the fuck it is. Their bars are like this, and it's like, dude, you know, you beefing with me, and you don't have shit. Education level, everything's low. But what you have to do, if you have wisdom, you understand that that person can't fuck with you. It's not an even fight like Superman Lex Luthor, because at least Lex Luthor has a brilliant mind. I'm talking about somebody, they don't have that. In the case of that, don't fight them. Because if you can look somebody up and down and see everything about them, find out all things about them, and see they don't have anything going for them, you're just kicking a baby seal at that point. You don't have to respond when they attack you. You know what I mean? If they physically attacking you, yes, but when they talking shit about you or hating on you, they just trying to be part of your story. Some people, like when you take screenwriting, you see the story arc, or you read Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. You read this story. I mean, you read the Hero with 1,000 Faces, and you read this shit. I'm like, damn, I've been through this shit. You go to school, you got quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. You got 2 chapters. If you go into college and you're writing a movie about yourself, the midpoint that divides the two semesters, that's the midpoint of your story. And you're going through your story. So if you're in college, like Duck, Girl, and Crane, first act, second act, third act, fourth act. So you can write your story arc. So what I'm trying to get at is, like, some people, they don't have no story. They're part of your story. Because a lot of people who are narcissists, for instance, they get jealous when somebody's around them who is more talented or whatever. But when you look at that person's life in a year, they don't do shit. If you really the main character, you going from point A to B to C. You're going through a change. If you lifting weights, like I used to lift weights, you're going through the physical change. If you're in a relationship, you're going through your relationship goes through a change. If you're fighting in a war, whatever you're doing, the character is different from the beginning to the end of the story. So someone who has a flat story arc, they can't be the main character except for Marty McFly. Marty McFly is the only, and maybe Batman. Marty McFly and Batman about the only people who they got a flat story arc. They don't change, and they're still the main character. Everybody else, the person who goes through change, that's the main character. That's what I'm trying to get at. So someone being jealous of you, they gotta have a relationship, or they gotta go to school, or they gotta be training for the Olympics, or trying to get a black belt, or they gotta be doing something. Because if they're not doing anything, then they don't have a story. Think about that shit. Look at the people that you work with. You can figure out who the main character is. The person that's going through the most change, that's the main character in your office or at your job. The person that stays the same, they complaining. January, they complaining about shit. December, they complain about the same shit. They never solved their problem. They never solved their problem. They could have been the main character of a story. They have a problem at the beginning. In January, they had a problem to solve. That was their opportunity to be a main character, because at the beginning of a screenplay, there's a problem that needs to be solved. That doesn't mean that if somebody fails to solve the problem, that they're not the hero. By the end, but after the climax, they have to accept, like to talk about acceptance, whatever. I ain't fucking with acceptance. They have to accept their life the way it is, or they have to change their life. By the end of the story, they have to accept their life the way it is, or they have to change their life. Luke Skywalker, after Darth Vader cut his hand off, he had to accept how things were. He lost to Darth Vader. He got his hand cut off. He got some fucked up information about his family, and he just had to live with that. He had to accept it. At first, he denied it, but by the next Star Wars film, Luke had accepted it, because you have to accept it. If you can't change it, Luke can't change who his family is. Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, he can't change who his family is. He can't change that Leia is his sister. He can't change who his father is. So he has to accept that his father is Darth Vader. No spoilers. Luke has to accept that Darth Vader as his father. He doesn't have to do it in the movie, but he has to do it by the next movie. And by the next film, he's accepted that Darth Vader is his father, because he can't change that. But if there are things that you can change, you need to change that by the end of the climax, or between the end of the climax and during the denouement. So, but, I mean, January, you bitching about shit. December, you bitching about shit. You didn't do anything. You're not the main character. If you didn't do anything to change your problem, the problem that you had in January, you didn't do anything in 12 months to change that problem. But you want to pretend like you're the main character. You're not the main character. Sorry, you're not. We're not writing a screenplay about you.